Hi Aditya, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm really excited for this interview because I listened to a podcast called My Indian Life where Aditya shared his story and then I reached out to him and he's the most humble guest I've had on the show up till now. So
Yay. It's all false. A lie.
you really need to stay
Complete
till
lie.
the end of this episode because Aditya is going to share something really exciting. Okay, so I want to start with your childhood. What attracted you as a kid, like to the stage or to singing or to performing?
Actually, funnily enough, I don't recall being like I don't know. Like I guess in the seventh grade, like in the sixth grade in my school, we had to take up a performing art, and of course I had been learning the tab tabla for about like 8 years then, and I think in all I learned it for 12 years. That's the only thing I really learned. And my parents told me to take that in school also, because at least at least I'd be first in one class, because I was really like average at my studies, and I didn't honestly like anything that gets institutionalized. I just don't like it. um which is why my music education also is extremely poor. Like it's not it's not very good. Like I'm not a good student in any way. So in the sixth grade, we had a choice to pick up the guitar, the violin, etc., etc. And of course, I wanted to be the cool child, so I cribbed and I cried, and I finally they got me a guitar. And actually, I think that was a real catalyst in me becoming a musician um, right now as well, because like becoming a musician full time, because I met my first mentor in that school, Anupam Sayan Gupta, who is a blues guitar player and now a filmmaker and a chef and God knows what not. And he really pushed me to play the guitar better, and didn't just stop there. He pushed me to sing. He never made me feel like I can't go beyond what I'm trying to learn. And in fact, till date, I like every time I head back home, I try and see him. And it's like that relationship is an incredibly special. So then we used to have this annual day in school, and I think in the seventh grade was the first time when I actually played the guitar on stage there. That was the first time I went on stage, and in fact I have a photo of that in my uh, uh, parents home as well. And I didn't even own a guitar of my own then, just an acoustic, not even an electric. And I had to play an electric on stage. It was insane, like, because back then, like, I'm talking about, I guess, I don't know, the early 2000s, because I passed out of school in 2010. So
But were you
anyway,
a part of any bands or did
yeah.
you go
So then
performing in
then I
college fest? Yeah.
Yeah, so then in class 8, I formed my first band with a friend of mine from my colony. And that band was called Resonance, and his name is Sahaj. We were very close friends till now. And that band was funny because we played our first gig at a cafe coffee day for no money, just for sandwiches. And we played for about 6 hours, one after another,
Wow,
not
that's
knowing,
really
like,
long. Yeah.
yeah, not knowing exactly what the real set list time is to play. So that's how it started, I guess. And then I joined this group called Artists Unlimited in class 9. AU was where my life changed, because I had actually gone there, like, Sahaj and I, from my band, we had gone to audition there to play the guitar. until we walked in there and realized that the guys who play any kind of instrument there are all the top guys of the scene in Delhi, and you can only audition to become a singer. Up until then, I knew I can sort of sing, but I'd never experimented with it. So they said, "Why don't you try that?" And I went and I sang, and I got through round one, and I got through round two, and I got through round three, and I made it. And I was just like, "Wow, okay, this is weird, but
Wow.
it's amazing." And that's how I became a singer. And AU was, I think, the biggest confidence booster of my life, because as you know, with this speech impediment thing, this that, it's all always been like a struggle to make anyone understand that I too can have my own thing. um but that became my thing, and I stuck with them for a good 8-9 years then. And I finally moved to Bombay in 2013, when I realized. And then of course, in the midst of that, I had another band called Cob, Cobble Street. Cobble Street was a jazz funk band. In that there was Sherry Matthews from. There's a band called the Doppler Effect. Now he's the lead voice in that. And our friend Kavya Gupta, who's now who stays in the States now, and Dhruv Vishwanath, if you know who he is. He's a fantastic guitar player. Suyash, who plays the drums, he's played with, like, he plays with many bands now, and a few more guys. So it was a 7-piece band. And then gradually I knew I'll come here someday, because I wanted to anyway. Then I moved in 2013 and realized that I'm not that good after all, and that there's a lot more to learn. So yeah. So
But
yeah.
at that point in time, did you feel that you lack a godfather in this industry, and that did you have any limiting belief that you won't get anywhere without that support?
No, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that at any point in time I felt like I need, because the thing is, see, also I've been very fortunate to have mentor after mentor, because after Amartya, so I started to work, like I went on the stage, which was the first season one in 2015, and
Sorry to
then right
interrupt, but
after.
for all our viewers, the stage is India's first homegrown English singing talent show. So Aditya was over there, and yeah, you can continue.
So yeah, I was there, and right after that, Abhijit Vagani, who's I think his biggest claim to fame when he became a music producer was, there's this song years back which went like Nime Kamali Kamali Nime Kamali Kamali. Yeah. So I think that was the song that he produced that brought him a lot of other work. And he's till date one of the top producers of the industry. And Abhi called me to sing a track, and then he heard my other work and stuff, and he said, "Do you want to join my team?" And I said, "For what?" He said, "To become a music producer." And I said, "What is a music producer?" I think it also matters that sometimes you just have to believe in that instinct and just move. Because I didn't know him. I didn't know who he is. But I knew a friend who worked for him, and I didn't know what his team is about, why it's there. But at that point in time, I was like, yeah, I guess I need to grow, so why
Right.
not? And I joined his team, and I made a lot of mistakes in my life too. But uh, I think I've always believed that you can, if you put in that hard work, and if you're talented enough in some way, and I don't mean it in a condescending way at all. You have to understand where your limitations are. You have to understand what your strong points are, and talent in terms of that, not in terms of हाँ मैं चार सुर में अच्छा गा गा गाता हूँ and all that, because end of the day we don't work in companies, we're our own bosses. So your talent, in a sense, if you're working in the industry, should in some sense be all and encompassing, because half the day you're just on call after call for another project, and you're going through a script, or you're going through an ad cub, whatever, like I like
Brief or something
whatever
like
it
that.
might be, like some brief, some creative call, some this that, and then when you finally get done, you get like about 4 hours in the day where you actually sit and work.
Hmm.
And I'm being realistic, because half the time we're just on the phone or we're in meetings. So I guess, like, yeah, I never felt like I can't do it, but yeah, like there was that thing of what if I don't. um
No, so
and
since
yeah.
the way you're speaking, it clearly shows that you've always been ready to explore, and I think that is essential. Like you came with the purpose of singing, and then now you venture into so many different things. So I
Hmm.
think that
I think,
kind of
yeah, it's about, sorry, go ahead.
no, you can continue.
I think it's about keeping your mind open to anything that comes your way, and not anything ki matlab aap musician ho and somebody calls you to join a competition to dance. Of
Yeah,
course
yeah,
not.
no,
I
no.
mean,
In
within
that
your own
area, but
sphere,
yeah,
yeah,
flexible
within your
enough
own
to.
sphere, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I can totally understand what you're saying. And I think that has a lot of value, which quite a few of people, like our age people, restrict themselves. That, okay, if I want to do something with commerce in this field, I'll stick to this only. I will, you may be good at something else, but they're not ready to venture. Okay, my next question is any memorable experience that you have that stood out from everything else and taught you a lot?
Honestly, like hundreds of them. um
You can say all, it's okay.
no, I can't say all. Yeah, it'll be a lot, but I guess I've been very lucky in that sense to have had many people who've believed in my work and allowed me to have them on board my tracks and our tracks. And um I think one of the, like, I was just telling somebody this story a few weeks back, so I'll share this with you. There was a day when I went to T Series once, and I had to record Shan for a track. And I've been very, like, one of the things that really bothers me about this time that we're in is that um, singers and musicians are not willing to spend time. They want to get done fast. Like, you want to come and sing and just finish off and leave, and then auto tune hai ya मतलब ये है वो है, ठीक है, ऑटो ट्यून भी इम्पोर्टेंट है आज, because
The sound
we
engineer
लोग,
will basically manage the rest of the stuff.
हाँ, but like I understand the need for auto tune, because half the things we play are not live anymore. They're all software based, so they're pitch perfect. So when a voice comes through, you got to tune it a bit to get it at par with that, which was not the case, like, in the time of, I guess, the Be- Be- Beatles and all that, where everything was played live, and no guitar could ever be that pitch perfect, or no piano could ever be tuned to that exact 440 hertz. Um, so there was room for the singer also to be slightly, like, not off key but slightly off, if at all. and also because they used to record on tape and stuff like that, they didn't get the chance to take many takes like we do
Many
now.
takes,
Like
right?
with me, if I want, I can dub right now and just stop and retake. With the tape, you had to cut it, so they'd have to join it physically, and it was a like a hard task. So all the singers back then, up until like I guess the late 90s and all as well, were very heavily trained voices, and due to the lack of social media and all that, the focus was always on their art. So when I went to record Shan, he came into the control room, and I said, so here's the track, and it was a ca- cover song. So I said, here's what we need you to do, etc., etc., etc. Would you like to go in and sing? He's like, no, I want to sit down and hear the track first. I said, cool. He said, can I have a notebook and a pen, please? I said, yeah, sure. Gave it. Now, I had printed out all the words, placed them for him, etc., etc. But when the song started playing, he didn't go to his phone, nothing. He heard the song, he heard the cue voice, started to note down the words by hand in Hindi properly, marking his emphasis points and this and that. And it took a good like 20 minutes or so. The song was played about 3 or 4 times. After he had done this, is only when he got up and said, come, let's try our first take. And I was just like, this is so nice, because you never experience that. Like you literally, like many singers with me have just walked in and said, hi, yaar, just take like 3 takes and then just choose. Shan was
Right.
Shan went in, and who am I? I'm just, and I was very young then. I think I was around 23 or 24 years old then, and I'm freaking out because this guy's an institution in himself, right? And he's recording, and the engineer's there, and I'm there, and he's stopping with his lines and stuff, and he stops and he says, do you want me to retake this? Does that sound fine? And I'm just like, sir, आप हो और मैं हूँ, अभी मैं क्या कहूँ आपको? Is like, no, hear it a few times and tell me. And I think that's the mark of a really good artist, and that humility is what I think many of us ought to strive for. The same thing with Nidhi Chauhan as well. When Tara and I, we composed our first song for Amir Khan's Pani Foundation a few years back, and Shankar Mahadevan and Nidhi ji, they had to record. Imagine your first song as a composer, and you've got these two massive like voices, and you're flipping out. So Nidhi, she came into the studio, and she just had her child then, and she came with her child, and it was so nice because it was a very heart warming sort of experience, because you don't see that much. And she went into take, and she starts to sing, and she's pitch perfect, so she hardly ever falters. So
That.
you're hearing her sing your song, like, and this was our song. It was our tune. It was a big thing, and our first song as composers that came out. And and it's for like the approvals were come coming straight from Amir sir, and it was a very like unnerving sort of experience, but very fun. And when she started to sing, she also did the same thing. She wrote down her words and stuff, and she went inside. And after each take, she's like, "No, I think I'll take one more. I feel like I feel like that could be better." And we're both just like, "Okay, cool."
So she's a
But
perfectionist.
yeah, and she took her time. She asked us if we're fine with the takes, what takes we like, don't like, etc., etc. So, I mean, that's a huge thing, man. Like, cause, and that's what I feel that's what makes an artist get to the point that these guys are at. It's a huge thing to just ask a new composer who is literally like half your like the amount of years I've been alive is the amount of years she's been in the industry,
Singing,
or more.
right?
So, like it's a big thing, man. And I feel like that humility is something that we all should strive for, and I strive for it. And I know I've not always been there, and I know that I've not always been the nicest person. So I think more than the kind of musician you want to be, you or the kind of artist you want to be, it's about trying really hard each day to be a better person, because we're not all born very nice, or like whatever it might be. But it's important, I feel, to strive to be a better human being. And I think that shows in your art, and definitely showed in theirs.
So do you consider all of this before sitting down to write your next track or something like that?
Consider what?
Being a better version of yourself and
Absolutely. Absolutely, because I know, like, I guess, like, we all live and learn. And there are I guess, like, I feel like it's important to be nice to everyone around you, and you don't have to be a hard task master. And like they show na ki, like, you gotta be like this very macho person and
yeah,
this and that. You
exactly.
don't need to.
Very
You're
stereotypical.
Yeah, I don't like. And the thing is, I'm massive. I'm 6'2". So when and I don't have a hard exterior. Like, I don't try to put that on now, especially, um because I think it's important to own the kind of personality you are, and work on that, better it, instead of trying to put up like another, like, wall in front of you. It's good
Exactly,
to
right.
it's good to be vulnerable, and it's not that bad if you get hurt a few times. And just you learn a bit more. That's all.
That's really, really nice. So, how do you ensure that your music is unique, like to yourself, and that it's a brand name now, Aditya N? And how does it
Is it?
always? Yeah,
Is
I
it? Oh
mean,
wow.
aren't we our own personal brand? I
Sorry.
wouldn't
I
regard
feel cool,
social
so I
media.
just like, yeah.
I wouldn't regard social media as your personal brand. I would regard your work as your personal brand, like a representation of who you are. So, how do you ensure that your music is unique and it always correlates to the music scene in which it's played or the movie scene in which it's played?
Okay, so there are a couple of things to this. One is, that I don't just do music for film. I don't limit myself to music for film. I do music outside of the country as well, for some international agencies and stuff. That's commercial. But Meadows and Rust, my new act, which you very kindly po- 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 posted about as well, is going to launch on 1st March. That's after a 5 or 6 year hiatus from the independent scene, because like, you lose focus of what is yours when you're doing film work for others for so long. It took me a long time. I think I've trashed about 100 of my songs or more in the last like 2 years. Make them, junk them, simply because they just didn't fit with what I felt was me. So within the film world, how I maintain my identity in a sense is, I guess, first of all, I'm a multi instrumentalist, if I may. Not a great one, but I can manage to play like a few. So I play the piano, I play the guitar, I play the bass, and I love doing these things. I love playing things live instead of just programming them all the time. Like I can never program a guitar because I don't like that sound. And then if something is too hard for me, I call in a specialist to play. But I never hold back when I'm sending my first draft. um, I don't say things like हाँ ये final में करेंगे हम, because one of the things I learned from Abhijit Wagani is that you send your first draft as though it's the final track. Why? Because you might know what you can achieve in the final track, but the director, producer, etc., hired you because they are not musicians themselves. You can't expect them to have the kind of vision that you do. So you try and reach as far as you can within that time frame of 1 or 2 days in which you have to send your first draft, and push yourself to make the song sound as wholesome and as like well packaged as you can. And I guess also for me, then one of the important things is that even if I don't connect to the song, I need to feel good about doing that song, and I like doing them. That's the thing. Like I guess one of the things for me is that I never feel bad about doing a particular type of track, and I never discriminate between the independent songs I work on or the film songs I work on,
Right.
because they're equally all fun. For me as a producer, as a consumer of songs, I have a very specific taste, but as a creator, I love doing it all. Like
Okay.
you send me a rap track, I'll do a rap track because I like to produce that, and I rap too, like in a very bad way, but I do.
Wow. Then you have to
I
do it
just
at
did
the
on an
end for
ad. No,
us.
no, no chance. That's out. But like I can do that if the project demands it. And another thing is, I guess, being a singer, you sort of understand where what the singer will do to the track as well. And I always sing my scratch tracks. So when I get a song from Pritam Da also, I always hear the voice note he sends me, and then I lay down my chords, and then I sing that scratch. And there are no words in the first draft, so it's just na 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 na. For example, it'll just be the words. Oh, sorry, just the tune. So I'll not know where what the words will be, etc. So I'll hum that tune myself, and why that process for me is an important time personally to understand what the song is trying to say, because you can place anyone's voice and start work, but there's a different sort of feeling to singing it yourself and understanding what's going on.
Yeah, to get
So
the
I guess
deeper
these are the.
perspective on how
Hmm.
it will work out. Yeah.
और सबसे बड़ी बात तो यही है कि चाहे जो भी गाना हो, चाहे कोई भी फिल्म हो, चाहे शॉर्ट फिल्म हो, चाहे लॉन्ग फॉर्म हो, चाहे कुछ भी हो, आपका काम आपका काम है. यू if you start to discriminate on the basis of that's a small film, so I won't pay that much attention, it'll show in your work.
Right.
If you look at like some big film where your work is done and you're just trying to like go so into the meetings and stuff a bit more just to show your face there, it'll show like that. There's the aspiration will show. So one of the things that annoys a lot of the guys I work with is that I never leave this space. I just work here, and it's very rare that I'll pick my stuff up and I'll go and work some somewhere else unless it's for a score of a film where we guys have to sit as a team and work.
Okay. So
Because
you
I
feel
like to
this,
be
yeah.
I don't like to get the extra attention. I just like to do my work, finish it off and move on. And once I'm done with my work, I like to like just be on my own or like be with my
Mm.
friends, talk on the phone, read a book. That I don't make work my life. I used to, but I don't. I
No.
I I get to bed at around 12:30 now. I don't work like really long hours.
Mm.
Important to stay fresh, man. Like you gotta work
So
out a
you
bit.
have adjusted your work-life balance.
Now,
So
yeah. Now I
now,
can.
over the years, okay.
Yeah. I used to work like 14-hour days, 16-hour days, not sleep much, gained a lot of weight because of that. So now I'm sort of trying to lead a better, healthier lifestyle, and I guess it all counts for something somewhere.
Right. So since you spoke about independent music, one viewer of ours had a question that what is it like to put out an independent album? And do you think indie artists are given enough support?
Okay, so there are two parts, right? What is it like to put out an album? Today, more like one of the bigger conversations is, do you put out an album or do you put out a single? And I think attention spans are extremely short now. So albums are only good for those who are a bit more established, is what is the consensus that I've come to. Like with
Right.
Heados and Rust as well, I'm going the singles way. So I'll have one on 1st March, hopefully one on 1st April, 1st May, 1st June. That's my plan.
Right.
Because the songs are done. It's just about the artwork, etc., etc. Now, but I guess the singles allow for you to build. What is it like? It's a lot of work. I think a part of why I even became a music producer is because when I composed some songs and I didn't know how to produce at all, I found it very hard to go and approach music producers to create my tracks. Because one is, how do you give your composition to anyone to produce without knowing what to tell them? Two is, music producers charge a lot. So in my mind, I was like, why should I pay anyone else? Why don't I just take like a few years off and learn this? I didn't realize that that was a lot of learning that continues till date, and I wish I was a bit aware of how much you have to learn because it never stops. Like you keep going. Um, but being in a place where I can produce my own tracks significantly cuts down on the kind of money I have to spend, on the time on the kind of time I have to spend, and also I have my own vision for my own songs, which only I believe, and that again is a personal view, that I believe that I can execute best for my independent tracks. Um, what does it take? It takes like technically it takes a tune. It takes, if you want words, then words. It takes a music producer. It takes a sound engineer to do the mix master. Um, it takes artwork. It takes promotions. It takes a lot. It sucks the life out of you. But and that too, you don't know how your song will do eventually. So, and I think one of the most important things that many of us feel a bit afraid of but don't realize is important, it takes critique. you have to have the ability to be
Accept
told
the
that
criticism,
your,
right?
yeah, ability to accept that you suck. Not you suck, your song sucks. And once you can accept that, once you can learn to, because I have had a lot of really good friends tell me things like, it's okay, it can be better, for years. And I used to hate them. I was like, what the hell? Like, I do this for films every day. Why am I not able to crack my own songs? You know? And I realized why at some point, and I guess everyone understands um their own thing. And but I feel like if you get too self indulgent and constantly say things like, this is just for me and it's for my indulgence, this that, then you cannot expect anyone to, like, anyone care. A few will always like your track and a few won't. But the expectation you build within yourself is, हाँ मैं बहुत सही हूँ. And वो expectation build करना is, I feel that one has to stay on the ground and not feel like you deserve anything in particular. You have to earn that. You have to earn that place in the in independent space. You have to earn that um sort of belief of the audience that you're a artist one can depend on, who will give you more stuff, who will give you better stuff each time. And again, like, one of my closest friends, Dhruv Vishwanath, is one of the top independent artists now. And I see how he started in college and what he's done and how he's made that place for himself. And I feel like everyone should really, like, go and look at his story and understand that he's really worked hard. And he comes here and he stays here, and every time I see him just like doing some promotional work, planning a gig and this and that's a lot of work that half of us don't even understand in the commercial scene, because we don't have to do it. We have promotions teams for films, we have this and that, but independently it's a lot.
You are handling everything yourself, right?
Yeah, and that's a lot. And what was the other part of the question? Do
How
independent?
do you think independent artists get enough support, and how can we support independent artists?
I'm a damn controversial person with this. Again, I feel like you gotta work your way up, man. You don't deserve anything until you can work your way up, is what I feel. And I'm ready because, like, my first song is out on 1st March, and my second song, which is actually a remix for Dhruv, is out on 5th March under the Meadows and Raj tag only. I'm ready for both of them to fail, not because I'm not confident of my own work, but because you can never predict what the
What the audience will like.
audience will think. Even though everyone has said that they like my work, I will not believe it.
Right.
I will not tell myself that that work is great. And when I say I'm ready to fail, it does not mean I'll be in shambles and I'll start crying. No, it means that I'm willing to accept that I can do better.
Do better, right?
You know, so it's not because I have moved on. That song might be out on 1st March, but for me it was done 3 months back. I've moved on. I've learned more. So it's okay. Like, I don't think, I don't know. Like, I don't know how anyone can ask for any kind of support until, like, why should anyone support you? Like, what have you done? Why should you be paid x amount of money if you're, like, you're just, I guess, like, support matlab, like, yeah, you shouldn't be exploited. You should not go and play a gig for like 2 grand or 5 grand. That's horrible. But otherwise, I don't know. Like, I guess you'll only get support if you put in that hard work as well. And it's not fair the way artists get treat, treated in life is not fair. Like even if they play a wedding gig, they're called in from the side and entrance and this and that. That's shitty. It's not nice.
Yeah.
When they're playing a pub gig, they're given things like an artist menu where they have to choose from like two basic pastas and like two drinks or something. It's really like
Okay.
sad.
This is new information for us.
I mean, I don't know if it still exists, but that's the way it was in my time. Now I think they get coupons of a certain amount and stuff, and I find all that a bit like silly. Like
Hmm.
you're like the least anyone can do for an artist is give them the basic respect and
Respect.
not treat them like like they don't deserve two pastas instead of one because they've bloody been on stage, man. They're tired. They deserve as much food as they want. Um, so and whatever they wish to eat, and I feel that venues and organizers and stuff. I mean, again, I've not been in the independent space in a long time, so things may have changed. But as far as I'm concerned, that's all I know from the bit of information I get. Um, yeah, I guess like basic dignity and also a decent amount of money for a gig because an artist spends a lot. You spend a lot on your gear. And especially if you gig, you spend a lot on your clothes. You have a house to run. So yeah, definitely, I feel like in life these standards can go up.
So another viewer of us had a question that is it possible to compose a sad song on a major scale and a happy song on a minor scale?
If you want them to sound creepy, yeah, किया हुआ है ये सब किया हुआ
Okay.
है एक ना एक वी वॉच दिस शो कॉल्ड सीआईडी
Yeah.
सीआईडी पे ना बहुत साल लाइक अबाउट 10-15 years बैक एक बहुत बहुत ही स्कैरी सा एपिसोड था where this clown, he's a clown by day who's a clown at like birthday parties and stuff, but he has a family at home. Basically, he's killed all these guys, preserved them. So he has a father in the basement who's basically a corpse, and the entire family is built from corpses. And he has a younger brother. So he goes and he sings Machli Jal Ki Rani Hai. And it's like he's singing it like this, but the chords playing at the back are minor. So it's Machli Jal Ki Rani Hai. And it's so creepy. It's so scary.
Okay, you're scaring me
I can
right.
never. I know exactly right. Until date, I like every time I recount that episode in my head, it's horrific. Like I don't know, like it's CID, so it's no like mark for anything spectacular, but that
Never
was really
mind.
like it's stuck in my head, and I'm really scared of clowns.
Okay, is that like
Yeah.
I don't know what if there's a phobia like name for
I think there is, but no, just get freaked out when I see
you never
clowns.
went to the circus as a kid.
I went once, and I think I went for a magic show. I don't
Okay.
know if I ever went to a circus. Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite track composed till date and why?
Composed or produced?
You can speak for both.
Mm, composed is there's this film that Taran had worked on called Rubaru Roshni um a couple of years back. I think it launched on 26th January 2019, and it's documentary film that explores the concept of Forgiveness. There's a song at the end that Nan only has sung. It's called Sammy. Um, I think that till date is the most special song that I've had the chance to compose. One, because I think that film is a film that everyone should watch. Not because I've worked on it, but because it's a film that I really learned a lot from. Um, because forgiveness is something that we all at some point or the other struggle with. It's a thing that we're not, as human beings, we don't lean towards forgiveness first. And it's a film that really taught me a lot of things. And Sammy at the end of the film was a song that happened after we'd done the score and stuff. And it's actually written like a lullaby. And the way Nana sung it is spectacular. Like, I don't think that there could be any other voice which could sing that song in the way in which she has. So we both composed that, and I feel that till date it's definitely one of the most special songs for us and the most special film I've ever worked on.
Wow.
And production wise, I don't know. I mean, production wise, like, I mean, if we go by what is a hit and stuff like that, then Hardam Hamdam, just I think we've hit about 50 million views, if not more. I'm not so sure. So yeah, I mean, and that song has done well.
Yeah.
It's fun also.
So how was
But
your
I
experience working with Arijit Singh on that song?
see, this is how it works. Pritam Da sends me the tune.
Okay.
I produce the track right here. Um, I send it back. If it gets approved, then it goes to Arijit,
Okay.
and he sings it in his studio or at another studio. And I don't interact with the singer when I'm not the composer. That's the composer's job. But having said that, I did work with Arijit once. I did record him, and I think he's a spectacular guy. Why I'm so far fond of him is not because of his voice and all that. Of course, he has a great voice, but I just like that he doesn't care. He's just like he's always himself. He'll he he shows up in clothes that make him feel comfortable, which is a known fact. Like everyone's seen that he does what he wants to do. And he's never like he's not got again. He's a really humble guy. So um, I think that anyone I meet, no, I think one of the key things I take back is their humility or the lack thereof.
Right.
Because when you meet somebody who's that big and you have to tell them what to do, like you are like this child in a sense who has to tell them what to do, how to
Right.
sing a song. How do you tell Arijit or Shan or so Nadi or Shankarji or anyone how to sing the song? You can only tell them the tune, but it's how comfortable they make you feel that is what you take back. And I took that back home when I had the chance to record him, and he's a nice guy, and I think that's the most important thing. I mean, he's been kind to me, so.
That's great. So my last question for today is what advice would you give to a teenager who's looking forward to get into Bollywood's music industry? What they should be aware of, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, just guidelines.
Mm, I think the first most important thing to understand when anyone, and I feel like this happens a lot, like when anyone comes into films, they come with the hope and dream of being big, of getting into this world that looks so big and so
Glamorous and yeah.
glamorous on the outside.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you come in here and you're competing with a lot of other guys who have come with similar hopes and dreams, and honestly, the demand is um lesser than the supply is what I feel. So you're constantly in some, like, I don't know, like, you're just trying to compete. The first thing is to get yourself out of that headspace of glamour and competition. Because as much as we may think we need to compete with the other, no artist can ever sound or look or be the same. What I can do, like, there's this friend of mine who's one of the bigger producers in the industry. Saurabh Lokhande. Saurabh and I should, and we actually laugh about it a lot because we are contemporaries, and like, yeah, man, like, I should actually be in competition with you, but the thing is, he and I don't sound the same at all, and we're really close friends. We started at the same time, and I have a lot of respect for him, um, because he's younger and he's better than me, like way better in many ways, and we learn from each other. Like, I like to play instruments live a lot, but then when, like, once every few months we meet and we play each other our tracks, and he's like, "अरे यार, तू वो same kick use कर रहा है यार, उस सॉन्ग में फिर से वही किक है, वही स्नेयर है, वही वही टोन्स है, चेंज करना उसको, ट्राई दिस." And he showed me something which will just change the entire way the song sounds, which would be insane. So, and vice versa, like, I'll show him a few new things here or there. But what I'm trying to say is that being in a headspace of competing is, one, never gonna keep you happy, and two, will always make you a very bitter person. And if you're a bitter person, again, it'll show in your art in some way or the other. It'll sound the same. It'll be uh, repetitive, or like in whichever way it like manifests itself. Don't know. But I guess one of the crucial things about being an artist is to be a little calm. Like, because you're always working under pressure within the industry. So you're working, like, I get calls saying, "Can you produce this track in the next 10 hours and just send it?" Now, imagine you've got one tune, you got to sort out the groove, the melodics, the guitars, the bass, the this, the that, and all in like 6 hours. If you're not a calm for person, you're not going to. And I'm not a calm person in life. Just so that if any of my friends see this and laugh at me, I'm just admitting that I'm not a calm person at all. I'm very on edge about a lot of things. When I'm working, when I get into that flow of production or composition, I try to keep my head there. I try to keep my phone out. Worst thing on earth is your phone. The second it pings, your attention is out. So I've actually not had WhatsApp, no notifications, and Instagram too, never. I've not had any notifications on for 2 years now, and I check my phone when I want to. The only thing which is on is the ringer, which is also for like just 6 to 8 hours in the day, and then at night that also is off. And I check my phone a lot, but when I want to. The phone never has the ability to take away from what I'm trying to do. Like if you've realized now, like, the only few times I've been that I moved is when I've wanted to drink water, because the phone is not here with me. It's not in the room. I think that's imperative. Like, you have to have the ability to chuck that thing out and just focus, because there's a study that said that every time your phone pings, like the average person takes about 20 minutes to get into a flow where whether you read a book or you're watching or you're assimilating some thought or whatever, like you're trying to work, it takes you 20 minutes minimum to get into that flow, and within those 20 minutes if your phone pings, that whole process starts once more. So you're out of it again and again, out and in, out and in, out and in. So how will you ever focus on something that needs so much precision, so much patience? So when I'm working, I try to stay not on edge, and I think that's important. And definitely, like I said, having the ability to take criticism, to and to not always criticize the other. Like you might have songs that you don't like, you might not like Bollywood songs, you might not like independent songs or whatever, but constantly saying अरे यार वो तो बेकार है, मैं बताता हूँ, अरे तुम इतने अच्छे थे तो you would be out there in one some way, but you're not, so shut up and just work hard. It's not so hard. So, and yeah, of course luck plays a huge role, but nonetheless, like, you can, and there are no shortcuts to any kind of success. There are no shortcuts. You can't just loop one track and say ha ho gaya. You can't just take one sample and just place it in 10 places in the song and say ha it sounds good. Manipulate your sample a bit, um do something fun, change the tune, the tones you use, have the ability to junk your own work, like take it out and just press delete on the whole track and start afresh. One of the examples I'll share again is that Pani Foundation track which we'd done. We produced something which was a placeholder track while we were getting the composition and the words and all that approved. And the composition got approved and the words got approved. And Amisa was like, okay, so you'll finish the track in like a day or two? We were like, of course, we can't say no because he's Amir Khan. We're like, yes. And we came back here and we realized that the track sounded like shit. So we started to salvage it. We started to work on it. We're like, यार एक काम करते हैं, हटा दो इसको पूरा. Now that we have the composition in place, हटा दो सारे files. कुछ 100 फाइल थे शायद, या 50 फाइल थे, गिटार थे उसमें, ड्रम्स किया हुआ था, सब कुछ किया हुआ था, सब हटा दिया. And we started from scratch. And then we finished it. It took some time. We finished the track in about, I think, about 7-8 hours, but we did it. Because sometimes things just don't sound good and you have to have the ability to assess it for yourself and say यार छोड़ इसको हटा दे, खत्म कर, and start afresh. Like, leave yourself that room for a clean slate, and you can achieve wonders if you can be a little hard on yourself sometimes, not in an unrealistic way, but I guess, yeah, that's an hard work, man. Like, everything pays off in some way or the other if you work hard. And being available, that's another thing. That's another thing when many guys don't do. They're like, hi, like, somebody will call you and say, can you come to the studio right now? You're like, हाँ मैं थोड़ा ना अभी busy हूँ, आता हूँ मैं शाम तक. They're like, नहीं नहीं अब अभी आओ. Oh, and the second you do that, they're like, यार छोड़ ना, 5 और है, right? So
Always someone to take your position.
yeah, never forget that you're replaceable, and don't work out of that fear. But the choice that you made to be in the industry and to be here is that you gotta be available to show up, especially in your formative years. Later, once once things start to work out and your approach for your sound or your voice or whatever, then you can still take that liberty a bit more. Like I don't take any work calls post 10 o'clock,
Hmm.
and I don't work beyond 12 now. At least I try not to, unless it's. But even then, if it's an important score for a film or something that has to be done, I do it. I'll work till 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock till now, but limited. Like
Limited,
it's very,
right?
very, yeah. But you have to have that flexibility. कि हाँ मैं I will not, I won't throw any attitude
Hmm.
at anyone pointlessly. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Wow, so much to learn.
So much to talk. No, I talk also like a lot. I get a lot of flack. बहुत करता है ये. So yeah.
Okay, so
Um,
thank you. It was so nice. This was the
thank you
highlight of
too.
my day.
Thanks a lot. That's very sweet of you to say.